This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
I had the best words, tolerated. I know words.
Mike Pounds.
I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid.
Anonymous, really anonymous.
I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. I had the best words.
God bless the United States.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Can't let that happen.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Well. Interesting. Boy, do we have an interesting show today. So.
My.
Oh, yes. All right. So, I've been rushing to get here on time. Because we've got a monster of a show. Yes, of course, we are going to talk about. Hey, we got lights. We're going to talk about. Is this Arrest Miss Eve? What is that? Lock him up. No, wait. Hold on. Let's not get too excited here, because again, we've got a lot of facts to get through. A lot of information about what's going on here, what may or may not happen. Anyway, it'll be an interesting discussion. A lot of information here, including a surprise grand jury witness. Interesting. We then are going to talk about the response from Maga world. We have Marjorie Greene, of course. Weighing in on this. We have Ron DeSantis. What's Ron DeSantis gonna do? That's fun. So, we're gonna get to that reaction as well. Oh my God, it's fun. Then we're gonna switch gears. We're gonna go after Ron DeSantis because it appears that the DeSantis government in Florida is targeting a venue for a drag show. So we've got details on that and why that is incredibly messed up. And then we have a win for transgender people in Georgia. It appears that your insurance, the county insurance, can't discriminate if you are seeking gender affirming care. So a big victory for trans people there, which is awesome. It's amazing. We'll get to that story and their hilarious excuse as to why they didn't want to cover gender affirming surgeries. And we'll give you the numbers. We'll give you some numbers and some reality. So, all right. Anyway, of how it actually ends up costing them way more in the end to be bigoted. Yeah. An exciting show. Exciting, but wait, again, cautious optimism. Why don't we do it? By diving in First to the news that broke over the weekend. This could basically apply to any story in Florida at this point. Or almost any story, I suppose. Okay. Former President Donald Trump is in panic. He is in panic mode. And over the weekend, on Saturday, he took to his, favorite outlet.
Truth essential.
And claimed that the government, they're coming for him. They're coming for him, and they're going to arrest him. Oh, okay. Well, so let me show you that post here, which is in all caps because, of course. Now illegal leaks from a corrupt and highly political Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which has allowed new records to be set in violent crime. Has nothing to do with this. And whose leader is funded by George Soros. Really?
Jewish space lasers.
Oh my God. All right. Indicate that with no crime being able to be proven and based on an old and fully debunked by numerous other prosecutors fairy tale, the far and away leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday of next week. Protest. Take our nation back.
Can't let that happen.
Okay. I guess that's in reference to being arrested. Now, look, let me just calm everybody down and note that this does not mean that he is going to be arrested on Tuesday. Okay. Look, I believe it when I see it. Okay? And by the way, it's just like when I see any sort of indictment, I'll believe it when I see it of the president. Now, according to reports, and this is numerous different reports, but let's go to the Hill, right? This is where I'm going to read from. The post comes as multiple recent signs appear to point to the grand jury Bragg organized, being close to, let me highlight this, possibly filing charges against Donald Trump. These are criminal charges. So now this comes as well as after former Trump attorney Michael Cohen had testified before the grand jury earlier this week, along with, of course, Stephanie Clifford, aka Stormy Daniels, who had met with Manhattan prosecutors. With Cohen's testimony, almost every major figure involved in the investigation has appeared before the grand jury, except, of course, for Donald Trump. They had asked him to show up, and he's like, nah, not going to do it. Trump was invited to testify before the grand jury this week, often an indication that a decision on any charges is coming imminently. Trump's attorney said this week that he was declining the offer. So, okay, there's a lot of speculation going on. There's a lot of excitement going on. But hold. Don't get excited yet. Okay. Trump's attorney, Joe Tacopina. Tacopina? I like tacos. He told the New York Daily News that Trump would not refuse to surrender himself if he is charged in the case. So when we are talking though about like, hey, look, if they do come knocking on the door, he won't refuse to surrender. So that little bit of cause for excitement, but again, cautious optimism, but cautious. Let's be careful. A Trump spokesperson said in a statement that the former president has not been formally notified about charges being filed on Tuesday. So he was basically, his rant on Saturday came from seeing news reports. And from that, he's like, oh, they're coming for me. They're going to come to arrest me. Protest, fight. They said that Trump only knows Bragg decided to, quote, take his witch hunt to the next level through illegal leaks from the Justice Department and the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to media outlets. I haven't seen anything from the Biden Justice Department leaking anything. And I haven't seen anything to note that, or to even come up with the conclusion that the Biden Justice Department has been cooperating with the Manhattan DA in this particular case. So, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that. It doesn't mean that that information doesn't exist. Maybe there is some coordination going on because, I don't know, Donald Trump has been, is being investigated quite heavily. There are several different investigations going on that may involve some sort of coordination or overlap. But again, I haven't seen it when it comes to this alleged campaign contribution. And that's what this is about. Okay, we're all aware that this is about the $130,000 in hush money that was paid to Stormy Daniels, and that's considered to be an illegal campaign contribution. And so Cohen had made that payment. Let's be real, on Donald Trump's behalf, on his behest, and Donald Trump, of course, knew about it. And so Cohen set up this fake company to facilitate the payments to Daniels. He was then reimbursed. And according to court filings, the Trump organization had falsified these documents and called these legal expenses. Oh, well, I was giving money to my lawyer. Legal expenses. And that referenced a legal retainer with Cohen that didn't actually exist. It wasn't a real, thing. So, and it just happened to, happen before the election, before the campaign, the 2016 campaign. So, and it seems like something that Trump would want to keep quiet. Yeah, come on. No, totally. He totally, knew about these payments, directed Cohen to do these payments. Again, this is my opinion. This is based on what I can see. I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a judge or anything like that, but I'm just giving you my opinion, right? So I think he did it. Absolutely. And Trump being in panic mode kind of backs that up a little bit. The reaction says it all. I mean, the first thing that he did on Saturday, without even being notified of an arrest or an indictment on Tuesday, called for another January 6th. Come on. Not smart. We got to protest, take our country back. Look, that's vague, obviously, but also not subtle. The result is what a lot of people, or I should say the result of a lot of people fearing what could happen if there was such a thing. And, we'll have to see what happens on Tuesday. But the courtroom, not taking anything to chance here, they're already setting up security. According to The Hill, workers were seen unloading steel barricades from a New York Police Department truck, stacking them outside the courthouse, as well as the Manhattan District Attorney's offices in Lower Manhattan. So they're getting ready for Trump supporters to show up and, protest. And if it's peaceful, that's totally fine. They can do that. But they're prepared for not so peaceful. Look, bottom line though, for me, do I see Trump being arrested on Tuesday? No, I don't. Mainly, I think it's because there's still testimony that is happening as we speak today. There is another witness that has been called to testify before the grand jury. They meet on, I believe, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And so it's unlikely that they're going to make a decision today. Maybe later on this week, but definitely not today. So everybody hold on. There will not be an arrest as far as I can, seeing on Tuesday. So let's all kind of calm down. Okay. So, moving on. We've got more on that grand jury witness. Okay. over the weekend, Trump had teased a special surprise witness for the grand jury testimony in the Stormy Daniels hush money case. So now that special surprise witness has been revealed as Giuliani lawyer Robert Costello. So Rudy Giuliani's lawyer. And that's one of them. Actually, there could be two, but that other witness may be Michael Cohen again. But let's get into why in the details, okay? So now Costello is a former legal advisor to Michael Cohen, as well as, of course, counsel to Rudy Giuliani. So now, why is Cohen there, and why is Trump happy about this? Because he is right now celebrating, like, oh, yeah, we've got Costello out there. He's going to prove once and for all. Actually, I might as well just give you the quote on this. Trump on Sunday posted to Truth Social that the most important witness will testify before the grand jury on Monday, teasing the testimony would come from a highly respected lawyer who once represented Cohen. And of course, he didn't mention Costello by name, and now we know that that's who it is. And he said the information he will present will supposedly be conclusive and irrefutable. Witch hunt. Of course, in all caps. All right. So, look, Cohen, the reason that he might be another witness is to give a rebuttal to whatever Costello has to say. All right. But we don't know what exactly that is because we don't know what he had testified. So, again, there's a lot of unknowns here in this part. But that said, we do know charges on Tuesday, not very likely. That said, right now, Trump has a couple of defenses. So, if he ends up being indicted, he would, basically claim, his lawyers, that he would have paid off Stormy Daniels whether or not he was running for president to avoid embarrassment as a public figure. So essentially admitting that, yes, he did have an affair with Stormy Daniels, and that it just would have been too embarrassing, to not give her hush money and tell her to shut up and go away. So that itself, I would say, kind of a damning thing right there, basically admitting that you did what you did. And then admitting that, hey, look, even if I wasn't running for president, I still would have paid her off. Then you admitted that you did it. How's that a good defense? And then, but they're also going to point to Daniels attempting to sell the story back in 2011 as saying, well, she's been trying to get to us for a long time on that. And so we were going to pay her off eventually at some point. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Now, the DA, of course, is expected to focus on how the Trump organization had actually falsified the payments made to Cohen as a legal expense when it wasn't. Now, a lot of the information related to how the payments were set up and facilitated, well, I think a lot of that testimony came from Michael Cohen. And so here's Costello coming in to undermine Cohen and basically paint him as a liar. And look, it seems like a smart legal strategy from what we see, because they don't really seem to have any more of a better legal strategy, I should say. Because look, Cohen had lied on behalf of Donald Trump. He went to prison for it. So basically, Costello is going to argue, hey, look, Cohen gave you all this information and all this testimony. Can you believe that guy? He's a lying snake. He's a greasy, snaky person. You can't trust anything he says. And this is all just part of a witch hunt. Now, whether that's going to fly with the jury, I have no idea. Okay. But that said, The Guardian notes that it's unclear if Costello is testifying on the request of Trump defense lawyers or on the request of the grand jurors. Both things are possible. And so, I mean, maybe this doesn't go to help Donald Trump. Maybe this actually isn't him trying to undermine Cohen. The reasoning, I think, matters. So now Cohen, now that Cohen's a focus is Costello, he's actually asked about this. And he said this, quote, "I don't have any idea as to why at this stage would you even need that," referring to his testimony. "And I don't want to speculate, nor do I want to start doing what Donald does, which is just to put out more shit." End quote. So again, what this means is because there's a new witness, there's not going to be charges on Tuesday. Very, 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 very unlikely, right? Now, considering, of course, that this is a former president, it's a really, really big step. There's a lot of politics involved, whether we like it or not. And even Donald Trump, as much as I despise the man, deserves to let the legal process play out before any criminal indictment or arrest is done. I mean, look, I know it's the main, like the right wing is arguing, oh, they just want to punish their political enemies. No, this is with fake trials and witch hunts. No, that's projection. That's exactly what they want to do. I don't want political trials or charges. That would be a disaster. But as I told you before, I definitely think, in my personal opinion, that Trump broke campaign finance laws, that he knew about this. And so it's going to be very interesting to see if the arguments from this latest witness would be enough to convince the jury to not recommend indictment. Again, we'll have to see. Maybe tomorrow's the day, maybe the next day. But, it's going to be a very interesting, and if you're Donald Trump, incredibly stressful week. Fun. Okay. Let's go to Ron DeSantis. Okay. With all the discussion about a possible indictment of the former president, Donald Trump, people are wondering, hey, because the former president lives in Florida, would Ron DeSantis defend him? Well, now we have an answer. And the answer is no. Okay. So now the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, is determining whether or not to issue a criminal indictment to Donald Trump over the hush money payments made to Stormy Daniels prior to the 2016 campaign. And so while that is playing out, Trump is posting on Truth Social about how he's expecting to be arrested on Tuesday, which is very, very unlikely to happen. But if there were to be an indictment, the feds would have to come to Mar-a-Lago. Well, that's why a lot of MAGA supporters are saying, well, we're really wondering and focusing on whether or not Ron DeSantis will prevent that from happening. And so we know that right now, based on some of his statements, Ron DeSantis would not. So here's, according to the Miami Herald Tribune, attorneys from the former president have indicated that if he's indicted, that he would willingly turn himself in for fingerprinting and an arraignment. But apparently there are some concerns that Trump would balk at being processed, with the New York Times' Maggie Haberman reporting that Trump is very anxious about what he would have to go through. Should that be the case, Bragg will have to ask Florida to extradite Trump to New York, and DeSantis, presumed to be the former president's chief rival for the 2024 GOP presidential nomination, would need to sign off on it. And according to Zach Anderson at the Herald Tribune, DeSantis will not intercede, telling reporters, quote, "We're not going to be involved in it in any way." There it is. Now, he also, of course, criticized, because he's Ron DeSantis, he did criticize Bragg for running a supposed politicized and weaponized investigation because he's got to keep MAGA chuds happy. Oh, look at me. I am against the terrible thing they're doing to Donald Trump. Please vote for me. Yeah, okay. Very, very transparent there. Okay. But he's also saying, hey, as Florida, as the governor of Florida, we just don't think we should be involved in what New York is doing. I mean, it's not my business. I mean, look, Donald Trump, if he doesn't want to go and be extradited willingly, if there is such an indictment, well then, yeah, that's not our problem. That's his problem, and New York's problem, and they're going to have to deal with it. So it is sort of delicious irony here because Donald Trump, of course, had moved from New York, from Trump Tower to Mar-a-Lago. So that's, of course, at the time, Trump and DeSantis got along pretty well. Now they're not getting along so well. And so, in fact, Ron DeSantis, and by the way, Ron DeSantis is a terrible person. I think I've noted that already. But he's been getting his ass kicked by Trump on social media. And look, DeSantis has barely fought back for anything, doing standard, politician talking points here, while Trump's out there implying that he's a pedophile. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. There was a video, or I'm sorry, not video. There's a picture that, Trump allies had resurfaced on social media of DeSantis partying with, high school kids. And there was that implication that he was sleeping with them, even though we don't have any evidence of that happening. Doesn't matter. Didn't stop Donald Trump or MAGA from making that implication. And so, now there's that. There's the other stuff, the funny nicknames, Meatball Ron, Ron DeSanctimonious, Shut Down Ron. He hasn't really found a good one. And so, all that, and he's still shopping around for nicknames, and of course going after him for his record on COVID. And so, there's all that. Ron DeSantis is sitting there just like getting punched in the face. And now with this potential indictment, you got to think that DeSantis is sitting there now going, oh, that's, indictment, oh, that's it's real. Could be bad. Could be bad for you. Sad day for you, bud. Good luck. Good luck. We're gonna stop that. Now, he also took a little jab here at Trump, saying, I don't know what goes into paying hush money to a porn star to secure silence over an alleged affair. I can't speak to that. Twist that knife, sir. Twist that knife. Oh, you love it. You know he loves it. And again, there's a lot of irony in this, right? And of course, assuming that Trump is actually indicted, and we don't know that, but already the politics is amazing, and I just love it. It's great. So now the MAGA reaction to this is also hilarious. They're melting down DeSantis. So let's go to Trump influencer and failed GOP congressional candidate, by the way. I love saying that. Laura Loomer. Here's what she wrote. Basically, Ron DeSantis is trying to call President Trump a liar over the news that President Trump may be indicted and arrested. He also kept repeating the word porn star in order to mock President Trump. Okay, Laura. Yeah, okay. Now, Grace Chung, CFO of Steve Bannon's War Room, also wrote an angry cat's response to DeSantis in his basically non-statement. WTF is this? Let him fight. Let him fight. Oh, there's more. And look, even before Ron DeSantis came out and made this statement, he was already getting attacked for not making a statement. In fact, Trump advisor Jason Miller tweeted this, quote, radio silence for Governor Ron DeSantis and Ambassador Nikki Haley. Donald Trump Jr. Tweeted this, pay attention to which Republicans spoke out against this corrupt BS immediately, and who sat on their hands and waited to see which way the wind was blowing. Oh, yeah. You know what? We don't really want to talk about blowing or blow when it comes to Don Jr. Just saying. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, okay? And finally, on Sunday, Jack Posobiec tweeted this. It takes 10 seconds to send a tweet. This prosecution of President Trump is a farce. It does grave damage to our republic. No, doing grave damage to the republic would be to, I don't know, not go after people for illegal campaign contributions. You know, breaking campaign finance law in order to do hush money payments. Just saying. That would be damaging. Okay. He added to the Times for DeSantis to make that post yesterday, talking about Hurricane Ian response and nothing from the personal account whatsoever about the arrest, which hasn't happened. It was a message that was received. Your message sent and received. Mike Cernovich tweeted that DeSantis was making his first unforced error by not denouncing this lawless act. He went after Alvin Bragg and said that this was basically a politicized, weaponized witch hunt against Trump. What do you want? Oh, I know what they want. In fact, this is Stu Peters who tweeted this, that DeSantis should send the Florida National Guard to barricade Mar-a-Lago. Now, Stu Peters is insane. Let's just be honest about that. Yeah. So he's saying, and this is something that's being echoed on the far right, that they want to create a quote unquote patriot moat around Mar-a-Lago to prevent the arrest of Trump. Which, by the way, Trump says, I'm going to turn myself in. If there is an indictment, I'll go to New York, turn myself in, get the mugshot and the fingerprints, and then most likely be released on their own recognizance. So it's not like he would spend any time in a prison cell. And these unhinged people are like, human moat! We must barricade the dear leader! Calm down. Peters wrote, anything less than a human moat proves DeSantis is a fraud. Absolutely unhinged people. Just insanity. Why a moat and not a wall? That's a good question. I mean, would a wall, would it be too obvious just to call it a wall? I mean, look, Donald Trump loves walls. Why wouldn't they go with wall? That's a great question, Ravaging Wolverine. Great question. But that said, look, at the end of the day, weirdos, cultists are going to cult. So they're, of course, going to get mad at Ron DeSantis, who, again, is Donald Trump. Let's be fair. Donald Trump's biggest possible contender in the 2024 race, if he decides to jump in. And Laura Loomer, people like her, MAGA crazies, they already despise Ron DeSantis. And so what I think matters is more of the Republican electorate and whether or not they're as incensed and, wanting to protect Trump as much as these other people, because that's really going to, it's really going to make the difference here in how this goes. But as I said before, Trump and DeSantis, let him fight. Let him fight. God, I love it. It's so good. Okay. Wait, we've got more. Speaking of MAGA people and protests, let's move to Marjorie Greene. There's so much news on this. It's just insanity. Over the weekend, former President Donald Trump has called for massive protests in the event that he is indicted by the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg. In fact, in a Truth Social post on Saturday, he says that he expected to be arrested on Tuesday over hush money payments made in 2016 to Stormy Daniels. I think that's very unlikely. But he then told followers to, quote, protest, take our nation back. Now, the response from that, or I should say, the response to that from allies of the former president, happens to be a bit of a collective. So let me get into the details. You have Republicans in Congress that are, again, allies of the former president that are saying, actually, no, don't protest. For God's sakes, don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't you ever do that. Don't you ever do that. I tell you, don't do it.
One of them, Marjorie Taylor Greene. In fact, here's what she wrote. We don't need to protest about the communists, Democrats planning to arrest President Trump and the political weaponization of our government and election interference. These idiots are sealing their own fate in 2024 because the silent majority has two feelings right now about the current regime. Yes, they have feelings. Many feelings. In fact, we always tend to be, told about their feelings. In fact, we hear about nothing but their feelings. Okay. It gets kind of annoying when they, again, are only talking about their feelings 100% of the time. Well, all right. So anyway, funny enough, speaking of weaponization, the weaponization committee, the Republican committee that was set up to find weaponization of the government towards specifically Donald Trump. What did they find? Well, this committee that's headed up by Jim Jordan literally found no evidence of weaponization of the government against Trump. These are people that are incredibly motivated to find any evidence of weaponization. If this was weaponization, you think they would have found it? Think they would have reported on it by now and found evidence of it by now. So what happened? Oh, they didn't. That's because there's not. Look, in fact, look, she also said election interference, right? Again, the irony here is the only election interference that happened was Donald Trump literally calling in to pressure people in Georgia, for example, officials in Georgia, to find him votes. Just enough votes to win. Yeah, it turns out that is election interference. Weird how that works out. So now Greene goes back to talking about her feelings and says, most of Mr. Trump's supporters currently are feeling fear and anger. Hey, doesn't that lead to the dark side? I'm just putting that out there. She says, that is the most powerful combination when election time comes. And the Democrats are driving that force with their own corrupt actions. Look, here's the irony, right? So she's basically given away, Republicans' entire strategy that they've been using to win elections. And that is to make people fear fear and anger. I mean, that's essentially the only two emotions that people in the Republican Party are made to feel. And it works. It drives people out to the polls. Look, Trump's campaign, by the way, was Make America Great Again. Now, look, you could say, oh, well, that's, Ronald Reagan, of course. It's a play on his Make America Great. Okay, how do we make America great? Obviously, we should give people like some sort of hope, right? That would be a campaign. No, his campaign was basically those two things, fear and anger. He railed against Democrats, immigrants, the establishment, and put out nothing positive. His big legislative push was to build a wall to keep out the dangerous, scary Mexicans. So fear and anger, that's what they have. And so that's what they do. And so she gives away the game. I think it's very, very, very transparent. And also admitting that, yeah, those two feelings, yeah, they are the most powerful combination when it comes to our party in elections. Now, I don't disagree with the idea that emotions like that are significant when it comes to elections. It's a big driving factor, right, in turnout. The right responds to fear and anger, as I mentioned. Now, the left does something interesting. So the left actually tends to respond more to hope. That's why, a lot of us, at least, speaking for myself, hope and change, right? No, unfortunately, we did not get hope and change, but we voted for hope and change. And so there, and again, when you're looking at the Bernie Sanders campaign, for example, why he did so well, unfortunately, ultimately fell short, but he was giving people a lot of hope. Hey, these are the issues that are facing Americans. Here's what I want to do to fix those issues, and we're going to stay on the issues, and we are going to talk about hope. Again, unfortunately, that didn't quite work out. That said, the left, I think, generally does respond more to a hopeful message than a be afraid message. Although, to be fair, it gets a little complicated. It gets a little muddy because, yes, there was lots of fear in 2020 of Trump, winning re-election, and that did drive a lot of people out to the polls. So again, it is a bit complicated, but generally, Republicans tend to go with the fear emotions and the anger. But that's it. An indictment, getting back to the point, an indictment actually, I believe, potentially helps both sides politically. And again, we're just looking at the politics of this, okay? So that said, what wouldn't help Republicans, and it's getting to the point of why Marjorie Taylor Greene and other Republicans are saying don't show up, don't protest, do not listen to Donald Trump, is because another January 6th would look horrible. It would look terrible. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not, in my opinion, a very intelligent person by any means.
Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police Peachtree dish.
Okay. But look, she is smart enough to know that the optics of Trump supporters basically doing another January 6th to defend Trump from an indictment is going to look real bad. And that's why she's saying this. That's why Kevin McCarthy is out there saying the same thing. Here's his quote. "I don't think people should protest this stuff." But then added that the former president was not speaking in a harmful way when he said to go out there and protest and take back the nation, but was telling his followers to, quote, educate people about what's going on. Really, Kevin McCarthy? That is quite a stretch. Oh, no, just go out there and educate people about what's going on. Yes, that's what I want you to do. Yes. No, look, Kevin McCarthy's going out there, and as well as Marjorie Greene and others, they're afraid of what MAGA chuds could do. And I'm not saying they would all do it, but they're afraid of somebody doing something, going in and doing a violent protest. Because what the right wing needs here, and especially in this situation, is to have the optics of victimhood. Oh no, we're all peaceful protesters, all of us, 100%. And we're here, we're protesting Donald Trump being the victim of a political witch hunt, and you are the aggressors, and we are not. Donald Trump is perfectly innocent and is a complete and utter angel. He's never done anything wrong in his life. And see, look at how peaceful we are. So look, January 6th, even a lot of Republicans were like, wow, that's pretty messed up. No, we're not at all interested in that. And something like that happen, that looks really, really bad for us. And of course, later on, they were, that opinion kind of shifted as, Tucker Carlson and people like that were trying to, basically blame the feds and the riots and all that stuff for doing January 6th. But, and that's because, and they spent all that effort because it looked really, really bad for Trump and the MAGA movement. So again, what they need is the optics of victimization. And that's why the main talking point that's coming out is the weaponization of, the law, the government against Trump, and that he is the ultimate victim. In fact, look, Marjorie Greene also on Saturday called this, accused the Biden Department of Justice for coordinating with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to go after Trump for a political agenda. She even suggested defunding the DOJ. So, I mean, that's what she's trying to do, okay? So, using the power of government to try to dismantle law enforcement, by the way, only when this law enforcement may go after Donald Trump for other things, because as far as I know, the DOJ is not involved in what the Manhattan DA is doing. Nonetheless, she wants to go after them, mainly. Do that, but Trump, MAGA supporters, the thing that will ruin us the most is if we have another January 6th. But don't do it. Don't do it. That's going to make us look bad. Now, look, I don't know if there's going to be violence. I hope not. But there's a lot of people that are very concerned that this could lead to possible violence. That said, everybody's waiting for the other shoe to drop. We don't know what's going to happen. But basically, all eyes for this week are on Manhattan. I mean, prepare for impact, right? Brace for impact. Whatever happens, it's going to be wild. Okay. Moving on, let's switch gears, because I've pretty much spent the entire show talking about this, and I want to get some other news in, including Florida actually conducting its own witch hunt against drag shows. Amazing. But this is kind of a messed up story, but aren't they all? Officials in Florida are looking to punish a theater for holding an all-ages drag show. So now, last year, the Orlando Plaza's Live Theater held something called a Drag Queen Christmas. Okay, what's the issue? Christmas is fine. Drag queen's fine. What's the issue? What's the problem? That happens to make Ron DeSantis and his government in Florida filled with right-wingers. I don't know. Maybe they get a funny feeling from watching drag shows. And maybe they don't like that funny feeling. I don't know what it is. But they want to shut down all the drag shows. They want to call the people that are involved groomers and pedophiles. So, and even apparently they want to send undercover agents to spy on these events, which is what they did in this case. In fact, the government decided to cover undercover agents, paid to have them sit and watch a drag show to make sure, that there's no lewd behavior. Oh, no, we got to watch it. We got to protect the children, you see. So instead of going after actual crimes, undercover Florida agents went to drag shows. Well, hopefully they had a good time and enjoyed what they saw. I hear drag shows are fun. But again, they go in, and what did they find? Nothing. At least nothing bad. The agents recorded what the Miami Herald described as campy skits, such as, I love this, Screwdolph, the red-nippled mandeer. That's funny. I love it. I love it. But wait, even with that name, turns out there was no
sexual anarchy.
So don't worry. In fact, they acknowledged that they found no lewd acts. They did not witness any lewd acts, such as exposure of genital organs, while adding that the performers had no physical contact while performing to the rhythm of the music with any of the patrons, which included 3 underage children at the event, although all of them were accompanied by adults. Nonetheless, Florida says, oh no, the drag queens dangerous. The drag, it's hurting the children's. You know what's funny? People my age, we grew up with things like Looney Tunes, okay? Where Bugs Bunny was literally in drag like almost every week, dressing up. I mean, come on. There's literally drag everywhere in media. Now it's suddenly a problem? No, it's not a problem. And by the way, that's a cartoon for children, okay? What's going on here with drag shows is nothing different. Again, no lewd acts, no pedophilia, nothing like that. It's exactly what you'd expect. See, here's the thing. Drag is not inherently sexual. It never has been. It could be, sure, just like any dance could be. But if you're doing an all ages drag event, then no, you're not going to involve those inherently sexual, overtones. This is a performance. Drag is a performance. It is art and entertainment. That's it. That's it. But see, under the DeSantis regime, it doesn't matter if you've done nothing wrong, if there's nothing lewd. Just the fact that drag queens were present, well, obviously you must be punished. You must be driven out of business, and that's what the Florida, DeSantis administration is trying to do right now. The Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation is attempting to strip the Plaza Live of its liquor license, which the Herald notes would all but certainly put it out of business. So, look, they're using the power of government to intentionally cause a business harm for doing something, hosting an event that broke no laws. There were no decency laws that were broken. It harmed no one. And DeSantis and his lackeys are saying, too bad. We're going to pull your liquor license anyway. We're going to put you literally out of business. Now, there is a word for that, isn't there? What is that word? Or phrase. Culture, something culture. Oh, right. It's cancel culture. That's what it is. Cancel culture. But again, it's worse than just cancel culture because you're trying to effectively destroy a business for political reasons, for the culture wars. This is not the free market making the decision. Because, I mean, generally that's what cancel or / consequence culture is. Somebody brings up an issue. Hey, this company is doing XYZ, or, we don't like what they're doing. So what we're going to do is we're just not going to buy the product. And we're going to tell everyone, that this is the reason why we shouldn't buy the product or do business or criticize this person for their political views. Okay, that's one thing. And then people can, using the free market, make their own decision whether or not they want to buy those products from that certain company or do business or frequent their establishments. That's fine. That's just literally capitalism, guys. This is different, though. This is the government saying, we're going to take away something that makes your business work. Even though you didn't break any laws, it doesn't matter. We don't like what you did. So we're going to take away, for political reasons, your license. And of course, as a result, they're going to kill jobs, obviously. And so this is not the free market. There is no free market there. Whatever happened when it comes to freedom? Well, it turns out they never believed in freedom. Again, political retaliation, that's all this is. It is a government acting like the morality police. Something that you would see in countries like Iran, authoritarian countries. That said, luckily for now, they don't actually have the power to throw people in prison for what they consider to be immoral behavior. But then again, knowing Florida, they would probably try to pass something along those lines. Now, here's the thing, right? This is ultimately what Republicans are focused on, at least in Florida. Drag bans, trans athlete bans, attacking the LGBTQ community, attacking teachers, accusing them of being groomers and pedophiles. They're doing all that culture war stuff But what are they doing for the average working person in Florida? Can you answer that? Can they answer that at all? Republicans? What is Ron DeSantis doing for the average working person to make their life better? I would posit that they're doing nothing for that. Because it's easier and more profitable for these Republican politicians to force morality on everyone else through these kinds of bans than it is to raise wages, protect workers, or ensure that people's material conditions are met. And you know why it's more profitable for them? Well, because their donors are going to be affected by things like higher wages, more worker protections, and increased material conditions for average working people. So they have a monetary incentive to not solve any of those problems, not solve any of the problems of, lack of affordable housing, for example, in the big cities, Miami area. And by the way, of course, there is lack of affordable housing in a lot of the big cities, California, New York, Portland, places like that. So that's not just specifically a Republican problem, but what Republicans are doing is they're not even, pretending to address those problems. They're just full on culture wars. Culture, drag this, groomer that. That's all they have. And that's all, and it's very, very clear watching what they do that this is all they have. Now, let me give you one quote here. This is from Carlos Guillermo Smith, who's a former Democratic state lawmaker who works with an LGBTQ advocacy organization called Equality Florida. Here's what he told the Miami Herald. Quote, "It's just more evidence that all of this is contrived. It's politically motivated. And it's not about protecting children. It's part of an ongoing effort to marginalize LGBT people and their allies because that's a vehicle that will get him to the GOP nomination." To that I say, yes! It's true. All of these attacks on the LGBTQ community, it's all politics. Using the culture war to help their own, political aspirations and to protect their donors at the same time. That's all it is, and it's all it ever was. And unfortunately, if they're allowed to get away with this, innocent businesses in Florida that are being inclusive and are breaking no laws, doing no crimes, are getting punished anyway. This should be something that every Republican should be against. But unsurprisingly, either most of them don't know that this is happening, or worse, they might agree. One more story, because I gotta get to this. I have to. Let's go to a Georgia story, because I actually have to, give you a good story to end the day on, because certainly there's been a lot of either not good news or, lack of excitement. But let's do it. Let's go to Georgia. A Georgia county that denied gender-affirming healthcare coverage to a trans employee ended up having to pay big in the end. So now, back in 2017, Anna Lang came out as transgender. She is a trans woman. She identifies as a trans woman now. And this is after working for the Houston County Sheriff's Office for more than a decade. So she comes out, and as a trans woman, she has, obviously insurance to the county. And so she comes out and seeks to have gender affirming surgery. Okay. So now she wanted to use her insurance that she pays for in order to cover those surgeries. Makes sense, right? You pay into, your insurance coverage. That you should be allowed to use it for things that are healthcare. And this is healthcare. That said, Houston County said, no. we're going to refuse to cover those surgeries because we have exclusions. These exclusions were put into their healthcare plan, and they claim that those were put there in order to save money. Oh, look, we would love to cover it, but it's going to cost us too much. It's going to cost the county too much, and so, and then also if we remove the exemptions, then everybody's going to want to get bottom surgery. Oh, okay. So no. First of all, they're not going to be forced to hand out bottom surgeries like candy, because there's only a select group of people that go for that, and that's transgender people, because it's part of their health care. Ridiculous. But yeah, again, the argument ends up defeating itself, and I'll get to that. The irony about this entire situation is that the county ended up spending far more to try to keep the exemptions in the insurance that prevents the coverage of gender affirming surgeries than they would have actually had to pay out to cover those surgeries. So that tells me that this was never about the costs. No. It wasn't about the cost at all. Because let's get to the details. According to a report in ProPublica, Lang had come out and got these, tried to get these surgeries, was denied by the insurance, as I mentioned before, or by the county. She then sent letters to the insurance administrator and the county asking them to remove the health insurance and plan exclusions in both 2018 and 2019. Every year, her appeal was denied. In early 2019, she then went to the County Board of Commissioners meeting to ask if they would remove the health plan's exclusions. The board then denied her as well. Their reasoning, it'll cost too much. Now, the county's lawyers then warned of a hypothetical situation in which an employee could seek multiple surgeries in 1 year. Oh no! Raising the cost to the point of where they just could not afford it. I'm sorry, there's going to be a run on surgeries from employees going and getting multiple surgeries in a year. We just can't handle that. We can't handle it. Or as Trump would say,
Can't let that happen.
So they're talking about cost. Well, how much does it cost? According to an expert hired by Lang's attorneys, including the transition-related health care in the plan, would add a total of, quote, 0.1% to the cost of all claims, or about $10,000 per year. The expert explains that the amount would be so small that in actuarial terms, it could be considered to be immaterial. Here comes the irony. So in fighting to save this potential $10,000 in a year in increased costs, Houston County spent just $57,135. That's just one expense. This was a budget expert that they hired to make their case that it would be too expensive to cover the gender affirming care at $57,135 versus $10,000 in a year. But wait, it gets better. Oh, of course it does. Now, after the denials, which cited costs, Lang said, okay, look, this is my healthcare, so I'm going to file a lawsuit. I think I'm being discriminated against. She sued the county for employment discrimination and said that the county, which describes itself as Georgia's most progressive county, so much for that, right, was subjecting her to inferior treatment by denying her medical care. Lang ended up actually using some of her retirement funds and savings to pay for top surgery, but was not able to afford the bottom surgery, which cost approximately $25,000 according to legal documents. But in fighting those claims, Houston County spent, you're going to love this, they spent a total of $1,188,701 in direct payments to private law firms from the date the lawsuit was filed to December 31st, 2022. Oops. The legal fees amounted to 3 times Houston County's annual budget on physical and mental health. So to save $10,000 in a year, they spent over a couple of years nearly $1.2 million. That, my friends, we call an epic fail. An absolute disaster. And one that could be avoided if that county had not been bigoted. Because let's be honest, this was not about the cost. Now, the final kicker here for the county is that after this lawsuit, or I should say during this, right? The county appealed the decision. So they were ruled against, and they're planning to appeal. During the appeal process, a federal judge stepped in, and they looked at this case, and they ordered the county, oh, by the way, for any future transgender employee, you have to cover the transition care. No ifs, ands, or buts. You cannot exclude people on the basis of being transgender. So at the end of the day, they not only spent $1.2 million in legal fees, roughly, to try to stop a $10,000 a year cost to cover transition care. Now they have to still pay for the transition care. Nice. Oh, I love it. I love it. So, yes. Now, Anna, getting back to her, she described the effort to fight for her health care. And the way that she was treated by the county as, quote unquote, a slap in the face. And said that they're treating it like a political issue. Obviously, when it's a medical issue. Look, at the end of the day, like, you have to understand, gender affirming care is healthcare. Simple as that. That's it. It is healthcare. I don't know, maybe this is a bad comparison, but like something that the county and a lot of health insurance plans have no problem covering is things like Viagra. Maybe you could argue, and maybe this is a bad argument, but you can tell me. You can tell me if this is a terrible argument. But like, I could see Viagra as part of a gender affirming care, right? Nothing makes you, I would assume that nothing makes you feel less than a man than having ED. And getting care for it makes you feel whole again. Like you are who you're supposed to be. And again, maybe terrible comparison, okay? Or, whatever. And again, you can tell me if that's the case. But nobody ever makes any sort of fuss when you cover that kind of stuff. But try to cover gender affirming care, which is healthcare. Well, I mean, they'll look at that, these insurance companies in these counties. No, they'll have a real problem. But again, as we just saw, this is, the costs are far less to cover these transition surgeries, which are necessary, than it is to discriminate against a transgender person. It just costs you more in the long run to be a bigot. Which tells me it's not about the cost. It's always been about the bigotry. They argued that this could cause a run on surgeries and just inflate the costs. That's not the case. This is just part of a fear-mongering campaign by certain groups that, say that if we accept trans people in society and allow them to get the gender-affirming care that they need, that suddenly everybody's going to go trans themselves because, hey, it's covered by insurance. Why not? It's the same weirdo argument that some people have made against giving people universal health care, like Medicare for all. What if you give everybody health care? Then they're going to make runs on the hospital and get all these surgeries done and elective stuff. Well, first of all, if there is a run on, hospitals to get care, that's probably because people, due to the cost of healthcare in this country, couldn't afford to do these things before. So maybe there's a little truth in that. And maybe even a little bit of truth in that when it comes to people who are identified as transgender who couldn't afford to get these gender affirming surgeries or gender affirming care, finally coming out and saying, okay, look, now I can actually get the stuff that I need for my healthcare. But at the end of the day, there's really no difference between those two examples because healthcare is healthcare. Gender affirming care is healthcare. And that's what it is. And look, trans rights are human rights. They should be able to get the care that they need. We just need to allow trans people to live their lives, to live their truth, to be who they are. And look, as a result of this, by the way, Anna, she is actually starting the process of scheduling her surgery now that she had won the case. I wish her all the best. As she moves forward with her life, living the way that she wants to be, living her truth. And I also want to give her huge credit for not giving up. This victory wouldn't be here if Anna had not stood up for herself. And in so doing, she not only stood up for herself, but every transgender person in Georgia that now has the ability to get their gender affirming care. And it may not be a lot of people, but it's a huge victory for equality nonetheless. And so I just want to give her a huge, huge credit for doing that and for standing up for herself, her community, and living her truth. It takes a lot of courage to do that. Hey, look, that's a positive story. I love it. Okay. So with that, that's all the stories I got today. I know I went a little long, but there was a lot. There was a lot today. And I'm after I read super chats and stuff going on Twitch, editing and posting videos, I want to collapse because it's been a day. Oh, it's been a day and it's been a weekend. So first, let me go and read from YouTube super chats, member comments. Let's go to where? Come on, Changeling DJ. Thank you for being a member for 8 months. Really, really appreciate that. Okay. Let's see. Koru gifted 1 Waldorf Nation membership. Thank you for that. Styx Dragon Sharon. Thank you for the very kind $2. And appreciate that and you being here and donating. Gabby Mathis, again, with a very kind $100 super chat. You again, incredibly generous. Can't thank you enough. Can't thank you enough for supporting the show, supporting independent progressive media. Thank you so much. And says keep the progressive show alive. Yeah, we're gonna do it. And Koru, again, thank you for the very kind $2 super chat. Like for progressive folk everywhere. Absolutely. Oh yeah, somebody in the Facebook comments has no idea about science. None. Oh wow. You aware that there are animals that can actually go through and change their gender anytime they want? Yeah. And their sexual organs. Yeah. Like, look it up. Read it. There's research. Let's see. Let's go over here to our Twitch community. Science is magic. Or, to some people, science is the devil's work.
It's the devil, okay?
Okay. Yes, yeah, apparently. Science, the devil. That's why they hate it. Over here on Twitch. Okay. Riellen N, thank you for gifting a tier 1 sub. Appreciate that. Actually, thank you for gifting 2 tier 1 subs. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Twitch audience. Love you, of course. And appreciate the kindness. All right. And thank you, Facebook audience as well, for tuning in all the great comments and some of the entertaining ones. Very, very entertaining, kind of unhinged stuff. Thank you for giving me the views regardless. And the engagement. It helps me. Yep, you were helping spread the devil's propaganda. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
We're under attack!
Okay. I'm just gonna have too much fun with my soundboard for a second.
It is an alien force, not of this world.
Not of this world. It's the devil, okay? It's the devil. And afterwards, you know, what we're gonna do is we're
get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
That's what we're gonna do. That's just a Tuesday afternoon, or in this case, a Monday afternoon. I know. God, I've got to get out of here. Thank you all. Please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Twitch audience, we're gonna raid into. Hold on. Let's go back here. And raid into KF Logan 1875. So let them know that I sent you. To everyone else, love you all. Have a great night, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you back here later.
It's not a salami sandwich.
Disappointed!
They want to make you drink Starbucks every day from now until forever.
Oh yeah.
Peachtree dish. And why their due process rights are being so flagrantly and horrifically violated.
This direction is about to be.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.
Fired! Fired!